Welcome, travelers of the unknown, to the secret threshold. Today, we'll cross a line that science still doesn't understand. What happens when a person loses half their brain and stays awake and aware? Get ready for real stories that puzzle doctors. Tales of broken minds that show an even bigger mystery. Where does our awareness really live? Don't forget to subscribe, because what you'll find out today could change how you see the world forever. Ever since science began, we've taken one big thing for granted. That our mind comes from our brain. That our awareness pops up from our body like fire from wood. But what if we're wrong? What if the brain doesn't make our awareness, but just picks it up, like a radio? Today, we'll look at real medical stories that go against everything we thought we knew. We'll dive into a mystery that has puzzled clever thinkers, scientists, and even those who've lost half their brain, only to find out that their self, who they are, is still there. Back in 1988, a little girl named Alex, who was 3 years old, had the left side of her brain removed to stop her seizures. Traditional brain science says that our language and speech come from the left side of the brain. Without it, Alex should never have been able to say a single word. But she didn't just talk, she spoke very well. How? The usual explanation is something called brain plasticity. The right side of her brain took over the functions the left side used to perform. But some scientists, like the controversial Dr. Michael Persinger, suggest something even more radical. What if the brain is just like an antenna, and our consciousness is a signal that can be received even if half the antenna is missing? In 2001, patient R, a teenager, lost the right side of his brain in an operation. He recovered physically, which was remarkable, but his personality changed significantly. Before, he was a thoughtful artist. Afterwards, he became cold, analytical, almost like a robot. Brain science explains this as the loss of the functions that the right side of the brain performs. But there's another idea, a more troubling one. What if that side of the brain didn't just handle emotions, but was the home for a part of his consciousness? Could it be that when he lost it, someone else inside him just vanished? People who've had half their brain removed often say they feel things in arms or legs they shouldn't be able to feel anymore. But Victor, a man from Switzerland, said even more. He claimed his missing arm moved on its own, and even that someone else was controlling it. Doctors say this is because of leftover brain pathways, but what if it's something more? In 2017, a study at a university in California found that some patients could feel things in their phantom limbs, even when their brains didn't have the parts to process that feeling of touch. So, where did that feeling come from? Here's another puzzle. Patients with only one side of their brain talk about having very clear dreams, even though they're missing the brain parts linked to seeing or remembering. In 2015, a woman called Casey, who didn't have the right side of her brain, described dreams where she was flying over cities she'd never seen. If the brain makes the mind, how can it dream about things it never processed? Could it be that our awareness is tapping into something else? The official idea is clear. Our awareness is just a side effect of our brain cells working. No brain, no mind. But there are holes in this idea. For example, how can patients who are in a vegetative state, like they're asleep and can't wake up, show signs of awareness on brain scans, even though they don't show any signs of thinking that we can spot? Thinkers like David Chalmers say that awareness might be a basic part of the universe. Like space or time, the brain doesn't make it, it just lets it through like a filter. This would explain why people with badly damaged brains still have their own experiences. Some scientists who study physics, like Dr. Stuart Hameroff, suggest that awareness comes from tiny wiggles in tiny tubes in our brain cells called microtubules. If this is true, our mind could exist outside our body, and a damaged brain would just be worse at tuning into that signal. If our awareness doesn't need the brain, does it carry on after we die? Stories of near-death experiences where people say they saw their own body from up above, even when their brain showed no activity, start to seem more important. If our awareness is stuck in the brain, why do patients feel like something is missing after having half their brain removed? Could it be that somehow a part of their self got lost, but wasn't destroyed? Believing that the mind can exist without the brain would shake up everything we know about life, medicine, even what we believe about God or spirits. Are we ready to take that leap? Having half a brain removed has given us an amazing clue that our awareness might be much weirder, much bigger than we ever thought, that maybe we're not inside our brains, but our brains are inside something much bigger, something that science doesn't have a name for yet. And what if your mind isn't in your brain, but your brain is in your mind? The human mind is still the last great unknown place. Does our awareness only live in the brain, or is the brain just its body prison? The stories you've seen today go against everything we thought we knew. If this trip to the edge of science has left you with more questions than answers, that's no accident. Subscribe and hit the bell, because here on The Secret Threshold, every new thing we find out is just the first layer of an even bigger mystery. Until next time, when we'll cross another threshold together.